Welcome, craft beer friends, to Season 8, Episode 5 of Tap to Craft Podcast. I am Denny Lewis, coming to you from Boise, Idaho, and my partner in craft, the Dog Whisperer, and my favorite Florida man, also known as Drinking Eagle from Tampa, Florida, Mr. Chris McKenzie. How you doing tonight, and what is in your glass?
Well, I am doing very well this evening, hopefully with zero technical difficulties after that. And in my glass tonight, I just finished one and I'm starting another. So I just finished Elysian Space Dust, right?
Nice.
Because it was buy one, get one free at the local grocery store this past weekend. So like I told you in the
Can't
text,
go wrong.
Can't really say no to that. Finished that one and moved on to a Crispy Boy, a New Zealand style Pilsner from Berry House Brewing. Dog. D-O-G.
Oh, yeah. Dog. Nice.
So I'm enjoying these. I still got a couple of these different dog featured beers, and they've been very good, especially as with hot as summer has been. So,
Excellent.
What is in your glass this evening, Denny, and how are you doing?
Well, I have nothing in my glass yet because I have been wanting to do a video of pouring this beer, because I bought a 4-pack of this and I've got this one and one more left, but I'm just too damn lazy to go and get the camera, get the phone out and do the recording, and then of course do the editing. I don't know, it's one of those summers. But this is Mother Earth Brewing here in Nampa, Idaho, right next to Boise, and this is their Cali Creamin vanilla cream ale, but it's on Nitro. And this isn't a Nitro widget or anything. This is some new process that a lot of breweries are doing right now, that is allowing beers to be put on nitros in cans, and then when you open it up, it behaves a lot like a nitrogen charged beer would behave. And there's instructions on how to drink this beer, how to pour it here. So it says, first, get a glass. You must have a glass. Next, flip the can 3 times. So I'll do that. 1, 2, 3. Then it says pour hard, and they're showing the can like nearly upside down. So I'm going to open this thing up and I'm going to pour it hard. Woo.
Got scared, didn't you?
I'm really nervous. I'm really nervous, Chris.
Oh, okay. So I wish I would. I'm glad I didn't actually kind of bet you, because
I still have some in here.
Yeah.
But it didn't overflow. This is a miracle. I can't believe this is live on air, Nitro pour. But you can, if you saw in the video, it did have that cascading effect. But now I've just kind of okay. That's all I'm gonna do for now. But yeah, it's a nice head. And there's a little bit of bubbles going on, but it didn't have a cascading effect when I first started pouring it. Did you see that, Chris, or was it too low in the camera?
It was too low. I couldn't really see it. It did or did not?
It did.
Okay.
Yeah, it had that whole cascading thing where when you pour it hard, it goes to the bottom of the glass, and then everything kind of goes from the bottom up, and it had a nice cascading effect. Okay. But yeah, that's what I'm drinking tonight. And as far as how I'm doing fantastic, even for a Monday. I'm just, I feel good. I've been, working hard, but this weekend I got to spend some time with my grandson, which was the weekend before last, we actually had him overnight, our first overnight sleepover. And I was a little nervous because it's the first time he's been away from his mom, without, and a ways away. And it went fantastic. He had a great time. We had a great time. There was no issues at all. We really, it was really, really fun. And then this last weekend, it just, we had him, and just my son and I were watching him, and he, he was just in a good mood. I love it when he's almost 5. He'll be 5 in December. So he's almost 5, but my gosh, I love it. Sometimes you have bad days and sometimes you have good days, and lately it's all been good days, and it makes me happy. And then yesterday, you know, I did some yard work. Maybe I hope it's the last time I have to mow, but I doubt it. It's, you know, the heat's coming back. It got cool a little bit of windstorms and stuff. Uh, but I probably have to mow at least 1 or 2 more times.
Oh.
I mean, it is only beginning mid-September, right? Probably mid-October. I'll have to put everything away.
Yeah. We've
But
had
I
so much
rested up.
rain. It's just not stopping.
Oh, you got a lot of rain?
Yeah, it rains pretty much every night now. So we're
Yeah.
we're trying to figure out. Oh, we're waiting for the lawn guy to show up, but he's been so backed up just because there's so much rain, so he can't mow when it rains.
Yeah.
So he's falling behind.
Okay. Yeah. So I got rested up, but actually I've been so tired. I have a natural, I think I mentioned before, a natural clock. I just wake up at 3:30 in the morning, and I'm wide awake, and I can't go back to sleep. And so I just get up and work out. But last week I was getting so tired. You know, I worked out. I think I worked out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday. Thursday I had a headache. I woke up and I had like a pressure headache from the weather changing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, okay, I can't work out. I just kind of stayed in bed for an extra hour and a half. And then Friday I was so tired. I woke up at 3:30 and I said, you know what? I'm just staying in bed, and slept in until 5:30, which I don't ever do that. So it felt good to, you know, sleep in a little bit. But today I woke up at 3:30, jumped up, I had a great workout, and I've been like energized the entire day. I think I had some nice rest. So this is the Denny that's excited, ready to go talk about beer, drink some beer with you, Chris, and learn about wheat ales, which we'll talk about here in a minute when we get into what the topic is, which we should probably do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into the meat of the show, I always want to let anyone new to Tap the Craft podcast know what we are all about. We are an educational podcast. We focus around celebrating all things craft beer because we want to assist you, our listeners, along in your craft beer journey and adventures. And you're listening to episode 187. We're recording on Monday, September 20th, 2021. And yes, we are live on Facebook. So if you would like to watch us record this thing live, you can do that the Monday before the podcast is released. Just join us on Facebook at 6:30 Eastern, no, 6:30 Mountain Time, 8:30 Eastern Time. Yeah, and you can watch us make the show and see all the stuff that gets edited out. You know, if you're listening to the podcast, you may see some of it or hear some of it if I put outtakes in, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes they're just in the show.
Sometimes, yeah.
Live. Yeah. And this episode, we are going to discuss the American wheat ale style. And why are we discussing the American wheat ale style? Well, because we haven't talked about the American wheat. We did talk about the German wheat styles a few episodes ago, but we have a beer from Core 4 Brewing. We have 2 beers actually, and one of them is a wheat ale. And I thought, why not drink this beer live, and then we'll talk about the beer style, let everyone know what American wheat ales are all about. And we have 2 beer tastings from Core 4.
Mm-hmm.
We have an amber beer as well. So that's what you have to look forward to, of course, as well as Chris and I having some great conversation as well. And before we get started, we also just want to thank all of our Patreon supporters, because this episode is brought to you in part by our satisfied Patreon supporters like Mike Allen, William Slimmer, and Amanda and Kevin Argauer, who are our virtual producers, and Tom Byrne, Jeff Seiler, Johan Halberg, Tara Carlson, Chad Lamassa, Mark Church, Matt Knight, Kirk Tabor, and Eric Gronley, who all want to buy us a virtual beer. And if you enjoy the content, we invite you to support the show by toasting your host or buying us a virtual beer, or even becoming a virtual producer. You can explore the options on our support page by visiting patreon.com/tapthecraft. Woo, that was a lot of words. That's okay. Now we can just kind of sit back, and what can we do? We can listen to some voicemail. Guess what, Chris? We got voicemail. Now, yeah?
I said what, Denny? You said guess what, Chris? I said what, Denny?
We've got voicemail, and we got voicemail from Jim Cutzel, who just happens to be watching us live. So this might be a little odd for Jim to hear him live on here. But we have, as Jim likes to do, he likes to explain. He has a lot of stuff to say. He hasn't called in for a while, even though he was on a show a couple shows ago. But they went on a road trip, and he wanted to talk all about it. And I can't wait to share his experience, his and Tara's experiences actually, with all of our listeners on Tap the Craft. So let me get this thing playing. And it's always a challenge because I'm playing this thing. Okay, I always do this. Okay. Here we go. Maybe. Damn it.
No, I thought it was weird. I didn't see these show up, so I don't have them.
What the fork is going? Oh, never mind. It's technical difficulties because I turned my volume down because I had Facebook on. So hold on. This will all be edited.
Hey, everybody. This is Jim Kudzall. Haven't talked to you in a while. I guess it's been a while since I've left my last voicemail. I guess we haven't done much with all the virus thing going on. But I did want to call in and give you a trip report of the trek that Tara and I took out to Ohio recently. We did stop at Trent Brewing. Tara wanted to go there for her birthday. It was a great celebration. I think we arrived about 5 in the evening. John was a gracious host, welcomed us. He's got a great setup there. He had 12 beers on tap at the time we were there, and he does flights of 4. I think 4-ounce pours. So I guess each flight is equivalent to a pint. And so we ended up splitting 3 flights, which allowed us to try everything he had there on tap. Plus, we had another standalone pint on top of that. And it was definitely a great treat for us, both literally and figuratively. John has, in addition to having really good beer, and I'll give you some of the Ohio rankings in a little bit, the food is outstanding. We each had the burgers, and we did a lot of pub food on this trip, and those were by far the best burgers. And me personally, I especially like the tater tots too.
I'm a tater tot fan.
Another interesting thing was you have to check out the faucets in the restroom. Very unusual. And I think this is the first time I've found a saison that I could say I actually enjoyed. It was I think it was the only thing that I rated there. We don't rate everything we drink. Actually, it's a minority of what we drink. But I did rate that a 4.5, which is unusual for a saison. And John gave us a tour of the, quote, event room, unquote. And I guess that's going to be an inside joke between us and him. All around, you got to go check out the place.
Okay, that's the first one.
Okay, so
let's just comment on a couple of things on what he said. For one thing, yes, they are unique faucets in the bathroom. So if you go to Trek Brewing, go check them out. They're a little fancy. I think they were left over from the previous who owned it before. I'm not sure. I heard a story, but I can't remember.
Damon's Smokehouse or Damon's Ribs.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one. And keep in mind, this is the first time Jim mentions bathrooms on this trip. He has a thing for bathrooms, I think.
He has a thing for bathrooms.
Well, I don't want to spoil it.
Okay, don't spoil it.
So the second thing is, I've also heard. I mean, that's one of the things that that John said, that when they were going to bring in someone to take care of the food, they were going to bring in someone that was like fantastic. And I've heard nothing but positive comments from everyone that goes and has the food at Trek, that the burgers and the stuff is really, really well done.
Well,
And that is fantastic, right? Because a lot of times
they just won an award too, right?
I think they did. Yeah, I think they have
like
won a
best
couple
burger
awards
in Licking County or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the second thing. And in Saison, oh wait a minute, and tater tots are my favorite. I'm a diehard tater tot fan. I love tater tots. Okay,
Tater tots are the best.
yeah. And then Saisons, again, it must be a Maryland thing, because Chad LaMassa doesn't like Saisons and Jim doesn't like Saisons, right? So, and Chris, you and I had the Saison on. John sent us a crowler of that, and that was a fantastic beer. So I'm glad that Jim also enjoyed that one and rated that one fairly high. Okay, so that was the first one. Let's go in and see how Jim carries on this trip.
Jim again. As I was just wrapping up our quick visit to Trek Brewing. Great place if you're in the area. You got to check it out. Top shelf beer, for sure.
Top shelf.
And
World class?
And Tara actually found a beer that she liked with vanilla in it. I know Tara has this thing about vanilla and beer, but she found one that she liked. We ended up closing out the place at 9 o'clock.
Living it up.
And again, John, if you're listening, thanks a lot for all of your attention. We really appreciate it. We picked up a couple T-shirts while we're there and a few other things. So and we and drinking beer, but just to give you a sense of what we did in Columbus, first night that we arrived, we just walked around the neighborhood from the hotel and encountered this brewery called The Elevator. We didn't really consider it a brewery. They only had one of their beers on tap. They had a lot of guest beers. But you got to check out that place. It had the best decor. A lot of history there. Stained glass windows, pool tables. Really neat place. You got to go there just to check out the decor. Next day, we got up. We headed north. Everything we did in Columbus was walking. We didn't drive the car at all. And we headed north, ended up at Hoof-Hearted Brewing. I'm not easy with giving out fives. My only five was at Half-Hearted Brewing. Their pale ale. Fantastic stuff. I had another one of theirs, a lager. I gave a 4.5 to. The space was a little sterile, but the beer certainly made up for it. If we were to buy their beer back here, it'd be like $25 a 4-pack.
That's the same here. Hoof-Hearted does come into Boise, and it is expensive when it does come.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 5 cap rating at Hoof-Hearted Brewing. Everything I've had from Hoof-Hearted, for the most part, I mean, I haven't had a lot. I've had probably 4 or 5 beers, and they've been really good. So good. That's the second one from Jim. We lost you there for a minute, Chris. You had to change Wi-Fi's?
No, I'm not entirely sure what happened. It was
you totally dropped because the recording stopped. Your video was gone. It was just me.
Yeah.
My lovely face.
I'm gonna.
Everyone was probably like disappointed that you were gone.
I was gonna kind of see what our Wi-Fi strength is now, but we'll give that a peek.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get Jim's third and
I
last?
guess this is taking a lot longer than I thought, so I don't want to take up everyone's time. So I'm just going to cut to the chase. Instead of giving you a little of what's going on at each place, let me just give you Tara and my overall rankings. We both agree on this. Number one, if you're going to Ohio, in Columbus especially, Hoof-Hearted Brewery was head and shoulders above everything else. I don't think anything there was below a 4.
Mm.
Wow.
Second tier would be a tie between Trek and Brewdog. Third tier, still everything great. Little Fish from Athens, Seventh Sun in Columbus, which is just down the road from Hoof-Hearted, and then Antiques on High, which specializes in sours, which may surprise you because we don't really like sours, but I would give them high marks. We went to several other places in Athens and Columbus. Not necessarily bad beer at those other places, but not worth a special mention.
Wow.
In our estimation. And if you're looking for a venue with a large selection, go to the Daily Growler, south side of the city in Columbus. Best beer selection. I think they have, I can't count them all, but tons of beer on tap. Plank's Beer Garden, if you like the German fest house atmosphere. Outside, they only serve beer in plastic cups, but it's really good beer. And the North Market, if you like a bustling marketplace atmosphere, really good beers on tap for a surprisingly reasonable price. And we got a pierogi dinner there, and a lot of good ethnic foods on tap. So there would be more things I could elaborate on, but I don't want to take up everyone's time on this. I guess just maybe a honorable mention to Winchester Brew Works. We stopped in Winchester, Virginia on the way back. If you happen to be there, that's the best place to go. We tried a couple others, but Winchester Brew Works, best beer in Winchester, Virginia. See you later. Cheers.
Cheers, Jim. Okay, so we do have one more small one, but first I want to talk about what he said, because he said something important.
Okay.
So he said Hoof-Hearted was the best that they experienced, which understanding that they're good beer. And I think John agrees that they're very good beer. He's always had positive things to say about Hoof-Hearted, if I remember correctly. But then what was nice is the second, tied for second, Trek and Brewdog. For Trek to be in the same level as Brewdog, a huge global beer company that has, makes a lot of good beer and well-known beer in Europe and now in the States in Columbus. That's a lot, right? I mean, that's says a lot that they enjoyed the beer as much as they did. That they put it, right there up with a big brand. So that was kind of, I appreciated that.
Well, I'm with him too. I mean, all the beers that I've had from John, some of the packaged things, just great, wonderful beer. And then bringing up his Saison, I'm with Chad. I'm with Jim. I don't like Saison. Well, I haven't found many Saisons that I like. Let's just say that. I really like John's.
Yeah.
I really like Trek Saison.
Yeah. And I actually like Saisons, and I like John's Saison as well. So
now, one thing
it goes on both sides.
Yeah, it does. Now, one thing he also mentioned is he said that they visited places in Columbus and Athens, and all the other ones were kind of didn't really need a mention.
Yeah, they went to Jackie O's too.
That was my next question. Did they visit Jackie O's? Because right there in Athens, that's one of the big ones that everybody goes to when they're in that area. I know we did. I know I still get a hold of Jackie O's beer, mostly in trades and stuff every once in a while, but I find that hard to believe if that's really the case, that things have changed that much where they don't warrant a mention. But hey, maybe things have changed. Maybe they've gotten too big for Jackie's panties and they just aren't making some good beer.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to wait for them to chime in and let us know. Okay, so I mentioned that Jim likes to talk about bathrooms. So here's what I meant about that.
Jim again. I would be remiss if I did not mention at Hoof Hearted in Columbus, if you go to the men's room, while you're getting rid of your excess beer,
don't forget the flush.
In the urinals, they have these soccer games, so you can see how many scores you can make.
Wait, oh damn! I forgot to. Sorry.
While you're getting rid of your excess beer, in the urinals, they have these soccer games, so you can see how many scores you can make. I don't know if they have anything equivalent in the ladies' room, but definitely worth mentioning for Hoof Hearted. Get your soccer skills up.
Thank you, Jim. I love that little postscript. That made me really. Welcome back, Chris. Maybe
good
you
Lord.
Froze. Oh, yeah. We'll have to fix your internet woes next time.
So you know what's
I don't
interesting?
know if it's because too much bandwidth is being taken by Manny or.
So it doesn't. I mean, there's
Are you there,
not.
Chris?
Can you hear me yet? Can you hear me yet? How about now?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay. So
yeah.
we're not using anything.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can. So we're not using.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Okay, so we're not using anything significant. We're powering 2 computers. That's it.
I don't. Camera's not working, just so you know.
Okay, so can you hear me though?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, so I switched networks. The extender was giving me a weaker signal than the actual network.
Okay.
So I'm going to stick on the actual Wi-Fi and not the extender.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. All right, so thank you, Jim. Again, thank you, Jim, for the voicemail. We have a voicemail line. We love getting voicemails from our listeners. If you want to be like Jim and leave your voice on the show, sharing your beer experiences, asking us a question, giving us feedback, whatever you want to do, you can do that very easily. Just pick up the phone and call us at 208-536-3359, or if it's easier for you to remember, 208-53-ODDLY. And if you just remember that we have, you want to call these 2 oddly handsome gentlemen, 208-53-ODDLY. And if you don't want to leave a voicemail and you'd rather leave comments or questions other ways, we can do that easily through email. Just send us your feedback at tapthecraft@gmail.com, or on Twitter and Instagram. Just follow us and add us at tapthecraft. And also on Facebook. Chris loves to interact with you on Facebook, facebook.com/tapthecraft. And we do have a website at tapthecraft.com.
When my internet's working, that's when I like to interact with you.
When Chris's internet is working.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue the conversation now that Chris is back, because it's now time to untap the craft and see what our listeners are drinking according to Untapped.
So I'll tell you all this just as long as, again, my internet doesn't kick out. But Jim said, hey, they had beer at Jackie O's. It was not bad. They had lots of IPAs, but ordinary. And he said lots of barrel aged stuff, which we did not try. Those guys are huge on barrel aged stouts and things like that. Tara said no liquor in my beer. Yes, ma'am.
That's right.
All right. So we're going to do, guys, we're going to go over what our listeners are drinking according to Untappd. And remember, if you want us to read your check-ins, make sure you follow me on Untappd at MCK1345. If you don't remember that, check on Facebook, send us a message, send us an email on all the places that Denny told us, and ask. I'll definitely supply you with it so we can read your check-ins on the show too. Starting with Mr. Mike Allen. He is drinking a Chocolate Grove by Revision Brewing Company. Mike's doing a little traveling from what I saw. He's out west.
Yeah, I think he went to a festival, so he has like 50 beers, so please don't read them all.
Oh, come on. But they're all what looks like good. Anyway,
there's some good ones. Yeah, you can read the good ones, but so
no, there's not going to be, I didn't see any notes as I was scrolling through his stuff. But man, from what I can see, all of his stuff was over 24 hours ago, except this one. He's drinking the Chocolate Grove by Revision Brewing Company, 4.5 caps. No notes for that beer. I have to read this one because Tara's sad, and I don't want her to miss out on her last day of summer. Tara, drinking an Oktoberfest beer by Bell's Brewery. Last day for the pool, so I'm crying in my beer. The salt goes well with the malt. Cheers to the end of summer. I'm still going to be swimming. 3 3/4 caps for this beer. And as Denny said, cheers to the last day of summer. I kind of wish summer was ending a little bit here too. But let's see, continuing the check-in streak for the 10,333rd show in a row. Chad Lamassa is drinking an Oxtober beer by Old Ox Brewery. Tons of malt, he says. Biscuity, very nice. 4 cap rating for this one, along with the Joy Juice by Idiom Brewing from Mr. Chad Lamassa. And he wrote, Hoppy, hoppy, joy, joy. The hops on the can are clearly based on Ren and Stimpy, which is also one of my favorite cartoons, just like he put in the comments. I could smell the Idaho 7 hops when I opened the can. Maybe my least favorite hop. Oh, Denny.
I know.
Hey, both of you.
Yeah, I can't blame him.
Fortunately, he says, the other hops dominate the flavor. This is pretty good. 4 cap rating for that beer. And scrolling on up to the next, Will D is drinking the HAZY IPA by Sweetwater Brewing Company. Just a 4 cap rating for that one. He's also drinking the Hazy Wonder, so he's having a hazy Monday by Lagunitas Brewing Company. 4 caps for that one. The next beer, I was surprised to see it in the hands of a person in North Carolina. Jeff Seiler is drinking a Juice Lord by Magnanimous Brewing, which is right here in Tampa. And he said, so great to see Magnanimous Brewing in the Carolinas.
Nice.
Delicious, big citrusy flavors, mildly sweet and so damn tasty. Looking forward to much more Magnanimous. And I agree with him. He gave this one 4 1/4 caps. And I commented, I told him, man, that's a great beer. I didn't know they made it up your way. I didn't know they were distributing, period. Yeah. So that's awesome to see.
I have to second that. I don't think we've talked about Magnanimous on our show, but we did drink. I mean, of course, you get it because you're in Tampa, but I had some beer sent to me from Magnanimous, and it is fantastic. I have to agree that they are making some really good beers, and Jeff, enjoy it. The ones I had, they were all really well done and very tasty.
Yeah, they certainly do a good job with that. Mr. Eric Gronley is drinking an Anoka Fest by 10K Brewing at GHQ, wherever that might be. This is a soupy. This is a super tasty Oktoberfest beer. Reddish copper color on the pour, rich bready flavors with light herbal spice hops, moderate dry finish. Prost. I give that 4 1/2 caps for that.
That's beer. Gronley headquarters, by the way.
It is? Oh, GHQ.
It's okay. Have another beer. Have another Space Dust.
Well, look, well, you know what? That's what everybody's drinking. Now that we're recording live here at Grodley headquarters, drinking some Anoka Fest by 10K. Cheers, guys. That's what everybody's drinking. Don't forget to follow me on Untapped if you want us to read your check-ins. Cheers. Q is my house. Thanks, Eric.
Are we done? Is that it?
We're done.
Okay. Wow, that was a
short
quick list. Well, you know what? My beer glass is empty. So what does that mean, Chris? It means
I need
you're
to
slow.
finish this. No. It means I'm enjoying my beer, and I need to finish this.
Okay. Well, while you finish that, Chris, let me go ahead and introduce our next beer, which will be a tasting notes beer from Core 4 Brewing. This is the Highway 33. I think that's kind of, there you go.
Ready.
Yes. And it's a
Green
wheat
can.
ale. Oh, yeah. And it says comes in at 6.1% ABV, 24 IBUs. This is a wheat beer that started them all, inspired by the time our brewers spent playing in the wheat fields of Kingfisher, Oklahoma. Nice, refreshing, unfiltered wheat is perfect after a long, hot day on the combine. So yeah, this was one of the beers that Buck Buchanan and Jill Buchanan of Core 4 Brewing sent Chris and I. And we are lucky enough to be able to taste it on air tonight and give everyone our tasting notes. So let's go ahead and open this up and pour it into a glass. I'm going to pour it into my lager B cup.
There's a dog hair on my beer can, Denny. I don't know why. I think it's a Cajun hair too, so that's okay. Now you know what? I think I need to buy a new set of B cups because my lager cup, I don't think it exists anymore.
It doesn't exist. It's been demolished.
It's been demolished, or it broke, but I don't know. Once that happened, I'm sure it was recycled responsibly because they're recyclable, dishwasher safe, BPA free. Good stuff. So let's get the condensation off this beer too.
Yeah, I've got some condensation on my glass too, but it's still. I have to admire Core 4 Brewing for making some nice, clear beers. I mean, this one's has a little bit of
haze to it.
But it's not a Hefeweizen, right?
So I totally forgot to tell you, if you and I did you and I get the chance to talk about the hazy IPA?
No.
From the last show?
No.
So I was texting back and forth with Buck, and I said to him, hey, the beers were great. Thank you so much. And he goes, yeah, man, one of the things that we've been having trouble with is the haze in our hazy IPA falls out. And I went, no kidding. Yeah. I said, interestingly enough, mine was hazy and Denny's was clear.
All the way at the end, it was clear. I poured that whole thing in and not a single haze.
And man, it was... it just made me laugh. I was sitting at my desk in my office, and I just started laughing. And Megan goes, "What are you laughing so hard about?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what happened." But this one's definitely a little on the. I know it's tough to see in the.
It is tough to see. I've got the condensation, but it's not like it's definitely not a Hefeweizen. No. I think it just has a nice, kind of a. Golden, like it's a light straw colored, I guess. I'm not sure what to call it.
No, I'd go gold.
Golden. It's a little bit golden. Yellow gold.
Sure, like a.
I'm losing my train of thought on as far as the color, but it's lighter than a brilliant gold, maybe a light gold.
No, I would go with maybe like a dark straw. I would go with golden. I would think of I'd think of wheat.
Yeah, actually, you're right. It kind of looks like some. Actually, stalks. You know what? It's got some barley, like
or
some
epis, or wheat.
So it did have a head when I first poured it, but it's dissipated out.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's pretty much gone.
Totally gone.
Light off-white head with more coarser bubbles, which is I think normal.
I wonder, can we see a color here? Hey, that's pretty cool. Look at us kicking ass in the tech game. So yeah, that's the color we're kind of looking at.
That's make a good screensaver.
I
Or
don't know if you
backdrop.
I don't know if you remember the I don't know if this was the one that I had the last time, but I have a photo in my virtual backgrounds like this one. This one's always good. All right, I like that one. That's just
Yeah.
And then there is this one. This one worked
Yeah.
out pretty good too.
Yeah, nice.
I don't know. I felt like maybe hang out with ET for a little
Yeah,
bit
ET phone home.
today.
Yeah, all the young kids don't know what that is. I don't think, or is ET still a
Good.
big thing?
I mean, you know what? The ride is still there at Universal Studios. It's a great ride too.
Okay.
It was just there a couple months ago. So, all right,
All
you
right.
ready?
Yeah, let's go take a whiff of this.
So I don't know about you, Denny, but with us, so about a month ago, for those of you that didn't know, I got COVID, couldn't taste or smell anything. And my smell and taste has come back, but it's now I'm getting into allergy season here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been affecting me a lot. But this just in general, I get really just subtle, like fruity smells, like almost like berries, strawberries, nothing overpowering.
Yeah, nothing strong. I also get a light fruity character, and I'm trying to pick it up as far as like, be able to define what that fruitiness is. It's
But it's like I'm trying so hard to smell it. It's so subtle that
it's almost like bubble gum, but not really bubble gum. Like not really bubble gum. You know what? Maybe it'll come out in the flavor. Maybe that's what we need to do. But there's no strong aroma from here. It's a very light, like fruit sweetness.
Yeah.
That comes off, and just very, very subtle. So let's go ahead and drink it, because obviously I'm having trouble picking up. We're both having trouble picking up the aroma.
Yep. Yeah. One of the things that I learned, so sadly, a couple of years back, I started the practice of doing the BJCP program, BJCP testing practice, all that good stuff. And one of the things that I learned there, because with work, I couldn't put the time into it, was to swirl your glass, put your hand over it, swirl your glass, and then smell it. So it kind of traps those aromas a little bit. Just if with a glass that full, you're gonna get it on your hand. Just done.
I'm making a mess over here. Come on, man, this is not working.
You wipe Core 4 Brewing on a Sierra Nevada T-shirt, and magic happens.
Then smell your hand, and it smells like beer.
It smells like beer.
Yep. Okay.
Can't go wrong.
Okay. So I'm getting like some grainy character. I'm getting. It's hard to. It's like a mixed grain character. Maybe wheat. Maybe a weedy, grainy character out of the flavor.
So the so you had read the listing off of Untapped, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only thing that it at least discusses in here as far as the listing in Untapped goes is just, just nice, refreshing, perfect after a long hot day. So I think this one specifically, I mean, it's 6.1%, 24 IBUs, and it's very simple and just, damn, it's good. Yeah.
So 6.1% is hard to believe, because it doesn't taste like it's got 6.6% alcohol in here, which is a good thing. Nothing is like punching you in the face, right? If you do want a nice, refreshing, easy to drink beer after a hot day out in the field, this will work. I mean, I get a little bit of, I'm trying to like put it into words, but like a grainy malt character, but I'm having trouble getting the words. And it might be weedy, maybe a weedy character. I don't really. I mean, I think of wheat when I like have my 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 whole wheat flapjacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of comes across that grain, like extra grainy wheatiness. So maybe that's what it is. But yeah, it's a good beer. I mean, very low bitterness,
Mm-hmm.
well balanced. The sweetness, the fruity sweetness that you might get on the nose doesn't come through strong
No.
in the flavor at all. It comes across really well balanced.
Kind of going back to the aromas in it, as I'm getting more room to kind of swirl the liquid in my glass around, I'm getting some kind of like citrus, lemony, again, very, very subtle smells, but um, something like lemon or even orange, but it's very faint. And
Yeah, it's very faint. Yeah.
and like you said, it's none of these flavors are just like super strong. Uh, and I think that's one of the things I really like about this is that it's so balanced, like everything works together so well, and it doesn't have to be this just overpowering like hop kick in your face, or
Yeah.
it's the malt is just dialed up so high that you're getting this mouth coating sweetness in your beer. I think they nailed it with the description on it. Nice, refreshing, unfiltered wheat. I mean, if I was to grab a beer after hanging out on a piece of heavy equipment, I'd grab this.
Yeah.
I'd grab
Yeah.
this all day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe what it is we're getting subtle hints of yeah, like some orange citrus just like in the background, or maybe some lemon. This one. It's amazing. Lately, I've been tasting lemon in everything I drink. This one, I don't taste the lemon or lemongrass, but maybe I'm just getting maybe some light orangey citrus. But I mean, again, nothing pronounced, and the body is perfect on this. It's not heavy. It's not too thin. It just, tastes like you're drinking a beer. And it's refreshing. I mean, I like this beer a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm having trouble describing it because it's just a pretty mellow beer. It has flavor, but it's just not something that stands out where you can definitely pick it out. My palate is not as refined to be able to fine tune, pick small little things out of this subtle beer. But yeah, very enjoyable. I like this wheat ale. Now I can't wait to get into the brew buzz where we talk about all the characteristics, and maybe we'll be able to pull out some of this beer in the style guidelines.
Well, I think too that this is going to be one of those beers that if you were to walk into a beer and you were kind of the big beer drinking kind of guy, you were like, well, I'm normally drinking Bud Light or Budweiser or something like that. Now those are lagers, these are ales, I'd imagine. I think this would be a good segue for someone into craft beer too, because I think that's one of the big things that Denny, you and I are so used to, that we see this, we're craft beer, we're big bold flavors, and it's always those big things where it just kind of, it's like, oh, super hoppy or roasty or some big flavor or flavors. And when we get a hold of a beer like this, we're like, wait a minute, it's mellow, like what's going on?
Yeah.
But in a very, very good way.
Yeah, this is a perfect You're right. This is a perfect gateway beer. I mean, if Core 4 Brewing was a nationwide, brewery, I could definitely recommend this as a gateway beer to people that don't necessarily like beer, or don't want to go extreme in transitioning, and have a really enjoyable experience. And better than, I mean, this is not a Blue Moon, but
No.
this is the equivalent of what Blue Moon was to a lot of people that were transitioning in, at that time. This is a much better beer that that I think could be a real good transition beer. I mean, and it's different than the transition beer of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Yeah.
Because a pale ale still has more bolder flavors in it that might turn someone off, even though it is pretty mellow. This one there's nothing that's going to turn anyone off, except an IPA only drinker that only wants hoppy, bitter things. They may not like this because it's not hoppy or bitter. But
Yeah.
anyone that's coming to the craft beer scene that doesn't necessarily like the beers they've tried before when they're at a frat party or whatever, and this is something that they could definitely enjoy.
Well,
And
and this is
I like it a lot.
yeah, I certainly do as well. And I think this is one of those beers, because you and I talk about this all the time. Beer flavored beers.
Yeah,
This is the epitome of beer flavored
yeah,
beer right here.
yeah. It's got a nice mellow, subtle malt flavor to it. Maybe it's the weediness to it that kind of mellows it out. But you got a little bit of that beer flavor, and a super super smooth finish. I mean, the thing is super easy to drink.
Yeah.
I mean, 6.1. I could get wasted off of this stuff if it truly is 6.1 because you won't know you're drinking 6.1 beer.
No, certainly not.
Yeah, I would have put this in the category of maybe 4% beer, to be honest with you. So it's that's good. All right, well, thank you. I think Chris and I both enjoyed this beer. Again, wait till I finish it, but at a minimum, it's a 4 cap rating, and it may get higher depending as it warms up. I may rate it higher. I did rate the blonde ale from last week a 5 cap rating, just to let everyone know. I did decide to go 5 on the blonde,
Wow.
and this one is going to be a 4 and above. I really enjoy it. Very well done beer. All right, guys. Now it's time for the Brew Buzz, and the Brew Buzz is devoted to discussing various beer-related topics. And this week, as we already mentioned, we're going to be talking about the American wheat ale style, a little bit about the history and what the wheat ale is all about, and we'll give you some examples to go out and try yourself. And like always, I am not the guru of craft beer styles. I can't just pull this stuff out of my butt. So I have to go out on the internet and go find some great articles out there to help me put this together. And there was 3 sites that I went to, 3 articles. I had one, it's called American Wheat Beer, was on the Craft Beer and Brewing website. I had American Wheat Style found on the craftbeer.com website, and American Wheat Beer Style Profile Brewing Tips and History found on the kegerator.com website. You can find these links in the show notes if you want to go visit them and read them in whole. I only took bits and pieces of each of these articles and put together into a nice flow to talk about this style. So, Chris, I'll start it off, and I got it broken down into like the general what a wheat ale is here, a little bit of history, subtle little hints to follow through, and what we're going to talk about in more detail. So I'll do that, and then I'll let you carry on the next section.
Okay.
So in general, the American wheat beers are some of the most approachable beers in the craft beer world, and the versatility of wheat beer allows it to be combined with a variety of ingredients or enjoyed on its own alongside a wide variety of food options. The sizable portion of wheat malt used to brew the wheat beer lends to a lighter, distinctive experience compared to beers brewed with barley exclusively. And I have to agree that this one is definitely lighter in body than what I'd expect from a beer that was 6%. American wheat beer is a style popularized by American craft breweries, generally using malted wheat for 30% or more of the grist and fermented with either lager or neutral ale yeast. Now, you heard that right. Lager or ale yeast. So you can have a wheat ale or wheat beer that can be either way. Hop character and bitterness levels vary from low to medium, but all examples display mild, flour-like malt flavor. And maybe that flour-like flavor is what I was getting with the graininess, right? That gritty graininess. Maybe that's it. Beers brewed in this style do not exhibit clove, cinnamon, or nutmeg traits or high levels of banana-like esters that are hallmarks of the Bavarian wheat beer styles. And just a couple episodes ago, we did talk about the German wheat beer styles, where they did have a high amount of clove, banana, bubblegummy flavors. And these wheat ales, American wheat ales, do not have those characteristics. The American wheat beer is known worldwide as a refreshing summer style. And this beer right here from Core 4 Brewing is definitely that in spades. All right, Chris, so why use wheat, and what's the history behind it?
So wheat in malted and unmalted forms excuse me, has long been used in making beer, as evidenced by several classic European styles using the grain like the Wit, Lambic, Berliner Weiss, and Bavarian Hefeweizen. Historically, these styles have often been accounted for a significant portion of beer sales in their respective regions. Now, wheat, at least as a brewing ingredient, probably stretches back to the very beginnings of agriculture, but most of its known history is tied to Germany and Belgium, with references as early as 1500. However, these styles found little popularity outside their native homes and remained virtually unknown. Anti-German sentiments after World War I and the start of Prohibition ensured any progress these styles may have been making into America during the 1800s, they withered and died.
Yeah. Yeah.
The popularity of German culture, including its beer styles, would reemerge with the post-World War II occupation of Germany that extended into 1952. This renewed interest caused an upswing in the amount of imported German beer. Before the 1980s, beers were rarely made with wheat in the United States. American wheat beer developed during that decade as startup microbreweries emulated European styles, especially Bavarian Hefeweizen. The resulting beers looked like the original but offered a novel flavor experience. In 1984, Anchor Brewing, one of America's oldest breweries, released their Anchor Summer Wheat. This beer had subtle differences when compared to its German cousins. The yeast used was Anchor's own house ale yeast and fermented to a more neutral and cleaner profile. The beer also had a more hop-forward character. The new style was adopted by the fledgling craft beer revolution, and today its expression continues to broaden and deepen. The key to the American wheat beer's flavor stems from yeast selection and fermentation practices. Without access to the specialty Bavarian Weizen yeast so critical to the Hefeweizen brewers, they were forced to use clean fermenting American ale and lager yeast. The American wheat's composition gives it a particularly inviting style, accepting of additional ingredients. This approach gives American wheat beer a subdued fruitiness, there you go, while eliminating the phenolic clove-like traits associated with German Weizen strains.
Yeah. So it's a nice little history about how. So basically, American wheat ales came about because they couldn't get the yeast from German that produces all those esters that give you those flavors. You couldn't get the malts that Germany had, and so yeah. So there we go. A nice little history story.
We made it
there.
work. We made it work with what we
made
had.
it work, and made it our own, and made a great little a wheat ale or wheat beer.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go into some of the style characteristics. Now I'm going to go over in a story form, and then later we'll go ahead and just recap those. Chris, I'll let you recap those in the actual, just so we can just spell them out, because this is kind of, a lot of prose here. So while American brewers use malted wheat like the Germans, they generally use less, as little as 30% of the grist, and rarely more than 50%. The balance of the grist comes from pale two-row malt. The huskless grain wheat malt does not deliver the same lightly toasted flavors found in barley malt. Recipes are generally formulated to result in a beer with 4 to 5.5% ABV, and the soft, flour-like flavors from the wheat malt give the style a relatively mild flavor and good drinkability. A slightly tangy, light acidity is common. And maybe that's what we're getting the flavor from, is maybe that little light acidity gives us that citrusy kind of feel, right? Maybe that's it.
And there's one thing that you said a couple of times, right? One of the things that this article describes is soft flour-like flavors. Now, I want to point out that this is not flour, Flower. This is flour like Flour, like the stuff you get in the bag from the mill, right? Flour like you make bread with. And I would agree with it because, well, obviously we're using wheat, which is where most people get flour from. And it's just, again, with everything else, it's very subtle, very mellow, but it's there.
Yeah.
And I think this article is helping to point out some of the things that we're going, but what is that? What is
Yeah.
that thing that we've got going on there that we just can't put our finger on?
Yeah, and really I think that slight tangy flavor is what we're kind of trying to figure out, and it's just too hard, right? It's not a real flavor; it's just a feeling and a sensation, and not necessarily a full on flavor.
Or are we being subjected to the placebo effect? We're just going with what we're reading.
Yeah, that could be. That could be. But we already knew there was something in there. We said orange. I said orange, but not in like a strong orange. Just in that, again, that tangy character, right? Where I was trying to explain my feeling or whatever, what I felt in the beer, but I couldn't. I definitely couldn't say orange for sure or lemon. You said lemon.
Yeah.
They're both, tangy.
Sure.
Citrusy fruits, but not typically citrus that you get in a beer that has citrus hop character in it. It's definitely not that. It's very subtle and just in the background. So I think that's what we're feeling. All right, the resulting beers are pale yellow. Okay, so that's kind of what we had here, pale yellow, and the high protein content of the wheat malt contributes to a hazy or cloudy appearance, and it is cloudy. It's a clear cloudy. I mean, it's not like a super, can't see it through it, hazy
Lightly
appearance of the
translucent.
beer. Yeah. Despite this, bready yeast flavors are not seen as an acceptable style for the trait. And I didn't get any breadiness. I just got this grainy character, right? The flowery character or whatever. While hop usage varies, the relatively light malt base means that hopping must be kept in check to prevent overwhelming the beer. Bitterness may range from 10 to 35 IBUs, but is usually at the lower end of this range and generally perceived as low to moderate. Many examples use flavor and aroma hopping with American varieties for a low to medium citrus or piney trait. European aroma hops are occasionally used for a similar level of floral or spicy effect. Despite significant flavor differences between American and German wheat beers, many U.S. brewers use the German words Weizen, Weiss, Hefeweizen in naming wheat beers made in the American style. As a result of this twisting of the nomenclature, consumers rarely know whether to expect the German traditional flavor profile or the American flavor profile when buying U.S.-made wheat beers. Now, that is true. Even 5 years ago, I would say that's a true statement. I think right now, in the state of craft beer, brewers are smart enough, and at least what I have seen in most breweries that I visit that have a wheat ale or a Hefeweizen, they are specifying if it's a German wheat ale or German Hefeweizen versus an American. They're actually spelling it out so people know this is this style. And I think that helps a lot. But early on, especially go 20 years ago, you just saw Hefeweizen or wheat. And and most of the time, it was a German style beer. And then when you did get one that wasn't that, it was like, what's this? This is not.
Yeah, this is weird and different.
That's not what I expected.
It's like, what was that company that made that? It was just called Hef. Pyramid?
It's Widmer Brothers.
Widmer Brothers, yeah.
It's called Hefeweizen. Hefe. It used to be the Widmer Brothers Hefeweizen, and they shortened the name to Hefe, which we'll talk about in our commercial examples here in a minute.
Oh, okay.
You're leading up to the finish here.
I didn't even read that. That's awesome.
That's right. So American wheat beer has been a popular base for making fruit beers. Raspberries were often used in the 1990s, but less assertive fruits are more often used now. Pale color and mild flavor of American wheat beer can allow easy expression of fruit traits. Now, this is true. I always talk about Thomas Kemper Brewing right outside the sub base in Washington, and they had a raspberry wheat ale, and it was an American wheat because it didn't have it was kind of this base wheat beer style, but they threw in raspberries to give it a little bit extra twist, and it was very refreshing and very fruity. It's like the first fruit beer I ever had, but you can only drink one of them, right? Because that fruit was like strong because the wheat ale is so like low in flavor or boldness that the fruit just took on a big role in that. And it, same thing with Pyramid. You mentioned Pyramid. Pyramid had the apricot ale,
That's what it
which
was.
is just an apricot put into a wheat ale base. So I mean, a lot early on in the '90s and especially in the '90s, there was a lot of fruit put into these wheat ales. Just to finish this up, its light character makes it a smooth American beer to pair with lighter foods like salads, shellfish, fresh cheeses like Chev, and fruit desserts like sorbet or sherbet or whatever you want to call it. So though that's kind of just explains the sequence of the style characteristics in prose form. And now, Chris, why don't you go ahead and recap the style for all those that didn't follow along, and just give them the down and dirty.
Well, and I wanted to touch on one thing too, because you and I were talking about that citrus flavor, or that tart and tangy flavor. As this is warming up, I'm getting a lot more of that kind of on the back of my palate, and I'm getting that
too.
It's almost like, and I'm not saying it's kind of how, like, when you use vinegar in foods. I'm not saying the beer has a vinegar taste.
No,
I'm
yeah,
saying
yeah, but
the
how
kind of feeling you get when you eat those tart and tangy. It's tangy.
Yeah.
That it's definitely changed from this very mellow, quiet beer to now it's as it's coming to room temperature, because I have barely anything left.
I know, I have the same amount. Look,
So
we're equal.
we're
We
twins.
have the same exact
All
amount.
right. Well then, cheers to you. Let's finish this up.
Cheers.
But it's just this all the way in the back of your palate. It's just this twang, tanginess.
It's a tanginess, yeah.
Yeah, that I totally get now. And even as we were reading this, I'm going, okay, yeah, the citrus thought is nice to look at it. But now as we're drinking it and it's progressing and warming up, it's definitely that tart, tangy twang to it.
Yeah, yeah. I almost at the end of this, as it warmed up, I almost start getting, and maybe because I was reading about adding fruit to it, but I almost get a berry-like sensation, like a spritzer of berry esters in there or whatever. But
and that's what I picked up on the initial aroma too. Even when it was cold out of the cooler, I immediately thought of strawberries or berries, raspberry, blackberry, all those things would make
like a mixed berry thing where it kind of, I can't pinpoint one. It's almost like a mix of blackberries, raspberries, blueberries. All these kind of berries just have that little faint same character in the background.
But I always hate it when you talk about the food pairings to put it with, because now I want like a salad with goat cheese on it, or or some,
that sounds good. I just had a salad for dinner. I should have drank this beer with the salad I had.
See? Or shellfish. Seafood's always good. All right, so let's recap this style a little bit. The appearance on this one, the color is going to be straw colored to light amber. The clarity, brilliant to slight haze. And the carbonation, at least visually, is going to be medium to fast rising bubbles. In the flavor and aroma, the alcohol, there is no detectable bits, at least specifically in this beer, of alcohol. It's not detectable to very mild as far as the flavors go. Hop aroma, flavor and bitterness are low to medium. Malts are going to be grainy wheat. Esters, it can be present. Phenols can be present as well. And then fermentation byproducts, very low levels of diacetyl may be acceptable.
No,
I remember diacetyl.
I'm not having any diacetyl in my beer.
Is diacetyl is butter or sour apple?
No, it's butter. It's the butterscotch.
Okay.
Yeah. Or popcorn butter-ish.
Popcorn butter. There we go. Sensations, the body is going to vary. Carbonation is going to be medium to high. The finish length is going to vary. Attenuation will be medium to high. And then we'll move into some of the ingredients. The ingredients, hops, Willamette or Centennial hops will be usually used in this one. The malts you're going to find, malted wheat, hence the wheat ale, and American two-row. And then, like they discussed earlier, the yeast you can use can be lager or ale. Now, I'd love to find an option where they use one of each. That'd be pretty neat.
You mean the same beer?
Yeah, so you create the same beer. You ferment one with lager yeast and you ferment one with ale yeast, and
Oh wow!
see what the differences would be.
Actually, that would be cool. That would be cool.
Okay, if any breweries are out there doing it, please let us know. I've sold all my home brewing equipment. Anyway, commercial examples of the American wheat ale: Widmer Brothers Hefeweizen, which
There you go.
thank you. Bell's Brewing Oberon, always a good choice. Three Floyds Brewing Gumball Head, Anchor Brewing Summer Wheat, Goose Island Brewing 312 Urban Wheat, and Sierra Nevada. All right, their Old Chico wheat.
Yeah, there's a lot of. Those are just the ones that are the ones you might see more often, and you'll have your local ones, but these are more widespread.
Yeah.
In regions.
Okay.
Well, that was a very good brew buzz. I guess we're gonna bust out our next beer here.
Yeah, I mean,
warm up a second.
We'll move on. We'll move right along.
Yeah.
So Denny said we had 2 beers.
Yeah.
Next one on the list is going to be Oklahoma Sunset. So there's the specs for that one. If I'm reading backwards, it says 37 IBUs, 5.3% ABV.
That's right.
All right.
You nailed it.
Oklahoma Sunset. So let's crack this bad boy open. Let's see what happens. Oh, I like the color of this one.
Yeah, this is nice.
Oh, the color though. So I think, Denny, I'm pretty sure you're a fan of ambers too, if I remember correctly.
I'm not a huge fan of ambers. Amber style is not my favorite. I like more leaning towards the red ale, but I have really been growing more fond of ambers of late.
Yeah.
And I love the coloring on this one. I mean, this is just a really.
So do I. There's too much head
garnet,
up there,
garnet color. I mean, just really nice reddish. Nice red color. I love the color on this.
That's a good word to use. That's a color that doesn't get talked about very often. Garnet.
Garnet. It's a garnet color, but maybe garnet's too dark. I don't know. It's got a nice reddish hue to it. I love this color. And the head, fantastic. Look, it's sticking around.
Yeah.
It's got a combination of coarse and very dense small bubbles in there too. It's really nice.
So here we'll go back to this one, but Denny was just talking about how we have a little bit of everything in there. I mean, it's bubbling away, but it almost looks like if you were really super close to it, it's almost like you're cooking pancakes in the morning.
Yeah. It's almost ready to flip.
Like that fun, it's ready, man. It's time to flip that pancake. I want pancakes. So there we go.
Okay, so for one, I give the color 2 thumbs up on the color.
Yeah. So
the head, 2 thumbs up on the head. Both so far, the appearance is very nice on this beer.
So if you look at this, at least from my perspective, if you guys ever saw the movie Jurassic Park, this is like the amber on the head, on the top of, what was the spared no expense guy. This is the color of the mosquito amber.
The mosquito, yeah, the amber. It's definitely amber. So this is, amber, dark amber color, for sure. It's dark amber. It's nice, very nice.
Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know about you, Denny, but my head is just about gone, but we still got a nice solid layer of bubbles across the top of it.
Yeah.
And a little bit stuck to the side of the glass. So around the side of the glass, it's kind of working its way up the side, but they're about gone.
Yeah.
So I think it's time to I'm going to give mine a little swirl so I can smell it.
It's got nice aroma. Comes off a little bit of a hint of sweetness in there, but not like overly sweet.
Yeah, some almost some caramel in there.
It's got some caramel, like some burnt, like some almost, toffee caramel.
Yeah,
like burnt caramel.
Starting to burn sugar.
Yeah, like like some nice creme brulee covering in there. Oh, actually, we could read this. Our American Amber is a smooth and clean drinker with caramel and malty hints, which we just Its nice array of amber color is as brilliant as an Oklahoma sunset.
I can
And
vouch for
yeah,
that. I've
yeah.
seen a few Oklahoma sunsets.
Well, yeah, you were camping in Oklahoma, didn't you?
Yeah, we
Like
did.
two years ago?
Jeez, I know, and it was yeah, it was right before. No, it was last year. It was last June.
No,
Yeah, it because it was right over Father's Day, and it was right as
in
COVID was
2020.
kicking off. Yeah, because we were concerned about flying and all that good stuff.
Well, COVID was already full blown by June.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
it's not here in Florida. Anyway, that's a conversation that we won't start. But yeah, I do remember getting like the Facebook reminders or the
Okay.
memories that popped up. Because
I could swear it was 2 years ago.
it feels like it was 2 years ago.
My aging mind is
I don't know, man.
don't trust me.
Well, I don't know. One of the things that I've heard is that the older you get, the faster time goes, and this
Mm-hmm.
year has been cruising. So
Yeah.
if that's the case, by the time I hit, well, and not to pick on you, but by the time I hit like 50, like time is going to be this. Like there's going to be nothing.
Yeah, it's pretty fast.
I don't know how
But-
you do it.
Well, yeah. Well, look at my beard. This is only 3 weeks, and I've already got
It looks
pretty
good.
pretty good beard going.
It's nice and it's coming in nice, and it's a good look on you, man. It's
Sarah's happy. Sarah likes the beard, and but she understands that sometimes I like to change it up and get a nice, clean,
all right.
cooler
All right.
face.
Look, and I've said this to even Manny, like, guys, don't cut your beards. We look weird without them, especially if you have them and then they grow back and you cut them and then I don't know, just looks weird. All right, can we drink this beer now? Let's taste this beer. What do you think?
Yeah, I've already got. Well, I've been drinking because I can't hold back. So this one does have what's nice about this is a lot of times ambers can be so there's ambers and there's red ales.
Right.
A lot and the difference between the amber and the red ale finish, the dryness of the finish. And sometimes the red ale will have a little bit more hop character to it than the amber. Amber will be more malt forward. A red ale might have a little bit more hoppiness it has a malt body to it or base to it, but finishes off with more hop character and maybe a little bit bitter. This one, I won't say finishes off like super bitter, but definitely ends on a dry, bitter note, and almost sucks some of the moisture out of you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sucking out some of the moisture in your mouth, dryness. So it definitely comes across dry.
So I had an interesting on Wednesday. I actually did, and I'm not going to mention any brewery names, but I did a secret shop for a brewery through the Secret Hopper.
Yeah.
I know we talked about them a couple of years ago. Andrew, if you're listening, cheers, buddy. But I got to try one of the beers that I tried because part of my secret shop was to get a flight of beers. And in my flight, I had a red ale. Now, I really enjoy red ales because you get some maltiness, but like you mentioned, you get some hop bitterness too. And this red ale that I tried, it threw me because I drank it. It was nothing but malt.
Oh.
And I had to kind of sit and focus on it a little bit because I'm going, is this just malt or is this keg old and nobody's drinking the red ale and it's starting to oxidize? And I was even talking to the bartender about it. I was like, look, normally the red ales that I get, they're hoppy and kind of, citrusy, and yeah, you get a little bit of malt to them, but this one, like, it was mostly malt, which kind of threw me off. I didn't enjoy it as much. This one is kind of leaning towards the opposite way, right? Like you mentioned, that the amber ale is normally a little sweeter, a little more malt forward, and you might get a little hoppiness to it, but there's that bitterness at the very end of this too. That it's almost like it's like that toffee, but then it's the bitterness that it's almost like burnt, but not in a good way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is a lot different than any of the other ambers that I've ever had. This is interesting. I like
this one. I get yeah, like a toffee, a musky toffee malty character that finishes off really dry. I mean, I'll say that this beer finishes off really dry,
Mm-hmm.
so dry that I feel like my mouth is dry, which I appreciate. Not a lot of hop character in it. You know, I'm not getting a lot of like a specific hop character at the finish, but this is more if this is more towards the ambers that I like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bordering on amber to red ale. I definitely typically like all red ales that I have, and ambers I like that lean more towards the red ale category, that wheatness, that end dry. This one might end a little bit too dry though. That's the only thing I have to say is that I like a dry beer, but this one is. I mean, I might need to get some Vaseline on my lips to
Well, this is like if
they're gonna
like
start splitting.
Yeah, it's like if an amber and a red ale had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you mixed a half and half of a red ale and an amber. You poured them, half in a glass together. And
No, but I do enjoy this beer. I joke around about the splitting lip thing. It's just it does have an astringency in the back where it does tend to feel like it's a little bit too dry.
mm-hmm.
But it's still a good beer. It's not overly bitter. It's not overly sweet. It's a good balance between the two. Just a little bit drier. It's definitely, if I go back and look at this, so episode 69, we talk about the amber style guidelines, and we break down the amber style and the red ale style as well. I think in both that.
Mm-hmm.
Be curious to go back and see what the notes are because. See where this falls in. But yeah, I enjoy this. I'll tell you, I enjoy the wheat ale a little bit better because it was so drinkable. This is drinkable, but I'm not going to have more than one pint of this one.
No.
Where the wheat ale, I'm going to drink a 6-pack and then get a growler to go home and drink that when I get home.
Yeah,
for sure. But
I'm with you on that.
This is a good beer. Like I said, the coloring, the head, the appearance. I like the whole flavor profile of it. I just think it needs to be a little less dry, and it would be like a perfect red ale.
It's still that's also true, right? Because we're drinking an amber, but there's a lot of red ale characteristics to this one too. And really, I feel like in the easy answer of the difference between the two, one's just more hoppy and one's more malty.
Mm-hmm, yeah. All right, Chris. Anything else to say?
It smells
because
really good, though.
Because we're almost at an hour and a half. I want to try to keep this show not too much longer.
Well, then let's move on to the next.
Okay. The next segment is our new and noteworthy beers. And Chris, this week you do have some new and noteworthy. So why don't you go ahead and talk about the beers you want to chat about?
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to play catch up. I'm, I think, less than 20 beers away from my 2,500 check-in on Untappd. Not as cool as you and some of the other guys I follow on Untappd, but I'm there. I'm getting there. So the first beer that I had actually is out by you, Denny's, from Pelican Brewing, which is in Oregon, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And I've seen pictures of their brewery before. Man, I want to go there just because of the brewery. And from what I remember, at least the pictures that I saw, it's like right on the beach almost.
Yep.
That's what it looks like. It was their Father of All Tsunamis 2021 version. And this was an imperial stout aged in whiskey barrels, if I do remember correctly. Denny, you also had this beer because after I checked into it, I was like, I wonder how our check-ins compared. You and I rated it, I believe, the exact same rating, 4 caps.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, this beer, a lot of the spirit aged stouts that I've been drinking lately, whether it's bourbon or whiskey or tequila or whatever, they always have this like this super sweetness to it. This beer was very just roasty, like I'm gonna punch you in the face with some roast with this beer, and clocking it at 11.2%, if I do remember correctly.
Yeah, it's a big beer.
It made playing family game night. You know, we were playing Life yesterday.
I saw that. Yeah.
It made Life so much
Fun.
better. Yeah, it made Life a lot better. But yeah, I gave it a 4 cap rating. Just the biggest thing, it was so super roasty, and any of the spirits or the whiskey flavor that was in it, very subtle, not very prominent or anything like that. And I do personally enjoy, if I'm having a barrel aged beer, like I like the flavor of the oak and the vanilla and even the actual spirit that comes out. This was more just kind of leaning towards that roastiness of a stout that is good in its own too, but I was expecting something else. Next is going to be from Swan Brewing in Lakeland, Florida, which is about a half hour east of us. It's called the Bean. 4.5 caps for the Bean. Sometimes you want to flick that bean too. And this beer was a blonde ale with coconut and coffee. Why are you laughing, Denny?
I'm thinking of that one brewery that names the flea flicker or bean flicker.
Bean
Coffee.
flicker. Yeah.
It's in Michigan, right?
I don't know, but this beer, according to Swan Brewing, this is the beer that put them on the map. This is a blonde ale, but it's a coffee coconut blonde ale. Okay. And they did this one so right. Oh man, a lot of times when you drink a coconut beer, it's super fake coconut flavored, or it's over the top, and it drowns out the rest of what the beer could be.
Yeah.
Or sometimes coffee gets you that really astringent taste, and it just messes with your whole palate. This was so good, just all muddled together just so well. 4.5 caps for this beer.
Nice.
If this one gets distributed, I would love to buy this and have this in my refrigerator. And the last one from Cigar City Brewing Company, their ales for ALS. This is an Imperial. Denny, my memory has been pretty solid today. I'm pretty proud of myself. This is it's an Imperial IPA, rested on cedar, not aged, but rested on cedar. And this cedar is one of those woods that if you put it in a beer, it can turn south rather quickly.
Yeah.
And
it's strong
it's a strong wood. Yeah. It's one of those.
That's what she said.
Yeah, it was that. It's funny as you say that. Megan texted me. But yeah, the cedar was a nice addition to this beer. It was not one of those you totally got all the hoppiness from the beer and you got to enjoy that, and there was just this kind of lingering flavor of this, the cedar in the kind of the background of the beer. They played really well together. I gave this beer a 4 cap rating as well. And like I said, I'm playing catch up with my beers, moving towards that 2,500,
nice
2,500th check-in.
Let's do it.
But I've got some pretty special stuff in my beer fridge. I've got one from Anchorage that will probably be my 2,500th check-in. One of those ones that I can't believe I spent that much money on. So it better be damn good. So Denny, dogs are barking.
There's a dog barking, yeah.
I know, Cajun's excited about it too. So what was on some of your new and noteworthy beers?
So I have a few. I'll go quickly through them. I have 4 beers I want to talk about. Then I want to talk about one of them about the brewery because of special beers from my buddy Alex. So the first one, Revision Brewing. I haven't talked about a Revision Brewing beer for a long time because I've kind of been staying away from them because a lot of times they make good beers, but a lot of the hazies taste the same, and I just get tired of drinking the same beer. But this time I saw that they made a beer with a collaboration with Moksa Brewing, which is another California brewery. And Moksa has won some Great American Beer Festival awards this year, I believe. And they did a collaboration that was a West Coast IPA instead of a hazy. I said, okay, or it's a double IPA actually. I said, okay, let's go ahead and do this. So the beer they brewed is called Unrelenting Mauistli. I think that's how you say it. And this is a double IPA, West Coast style. And I'll tell you what, this beer was so fantastic for a big 8.5% double IPA, West Coast style, but not overly bitter, very drinkable, had some resinous character in there. Actually, you know what? I should bring up my Untapped here because that would explain it more because I can't remember exactly what it's all about, but I can read what I said about it. I said, what a clear double IPA. Such a beautiful done tropical fruit hop forward beer. Some of my favorite hops in this one, and they don't disappoint. Glad to see Revision stepping away from the haze game for a minute. And I gave this beer a 4.25 cap rating. I really enjoyed this beer, and it just was crystal clear. You could see right through it and had such great tropical fruit flavors and also some resininess to it that just was, it was nice. It wasn't over the top, just done really well, smooth, big beer. All right, that's the first one. The second one is from Lumberbeard Brewing out of Washington State. I always talk a lot about them because I really enjoy their beers. This is going in line a lot. You know, it's a Helles lager. It is Oktoberfest season. Even though Helles lager is not an Oktoberfest Marzen, it is still a lager. And why not drink lagers during Oktoberfest season? And this Helles lager was very good. What I said about this one is another very good beer from Lumberbeard. Malt character is pleasant with a little bit of sweetness and a great balance with the hops. A little grassy with maybe a hint of lemon. Maybe it's lemongrass. 4.25 cap rating for that one. The next beer is a gift from my buddy Alex Fuchs from Israel. He came into town last week, and man, I don't know how I got so lucky to have a great friend like Alex. He always brings me beer. He brought me a bunch of beer from Israel, but because he always says, you know what, Denny, it's so hard to find beer that you haven't had in Israel. That now I'm bringing beer that comes into Israel from other countries around Israel. And he brought me my first Slovenia beer. Yes.
Wow.
It's from Gold or Green Gold Brewing, and it has this Inga Sepalenka. That's the real pronunciation of the brewery. But this one is a New England IPA from Slovenia, and it's called Cashmere New England IPA. My first Slovenia beer, again, thanks to my buddy Alex. Cashmere hops playing center stage and providing a unique candy tropical citrus character. It has a fairly heavy body for a New England IPA style and also has a ripe fruit flavor in the finish. 4 cap rating. And the artwork on the can is very, very nice.
I like that.
Like a cherub, Slovenia, purple-haired girl with her bare butt. Yeah, nice butt. Artwork is fantastic. I mean, I'm saving this can because I think the artwork is great. So before I go on to my last beer, I just want to talk about Green Gold Brewing. They have a website, and it does translate into English. So I recommend going and searching for Gold Green Brewing. Go to the website and check out the beer selection they have. They have some very interesting. I mean, I just love the fact that they have some great artwork. Pointing out the artwork, I love this one on the Cashmere. I also love the one called Dragon Slayer. It's a session IPA. Artwork is insane. They also have some funny pun-named beers. Like, for example, Comet As You Are. It's a West Coast IPA. And the artwork is mimicking the Nirvana Nevermind cover of the baby in the pool. But it's a baby. Yeah, who's suing? Yeah, he's suing for showing off his little little Willie. But but the little Willie's censored in this one. I think it's a playoff of that whole thing, but makes me laugh when I saw it. He also has All Be Kazbak hazy IPA, mimicking the Terminator, where it's basically a Terminator robot on one half of his face and a hop face on the other, and he's got the Terminator stuff in the background. I mean, very unique artwork, beers, and I really enjoyed this beer. So go check it out. Green Gold Brewing.
Here it is for you.
Oh, you're gonna show a couple others?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
the dragon. That dragon. That is
that's
pretty
awesome.
wicked, huh?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah. All right, so that was that one. Another beer that Alex brought that I had is a brewery I have had before, but not very often. It's Beavertown Brewing. Beavertown Brewing is in England, and so they do a lot of collaborations with American breweries, and so I've had collaborations they've done with American breweries, but I don't think any of their beers that they just do on their own until Alex brings them over from Israel. So I'm getting English beers through Israel back to the U.S. It's a big giant circle of craft beer life right there. And this one is their Gamma Ray. And the Gamma Ray is an American pale ale. And what I said about this is, again, big thanks to my buddy Alex for bringing me some Beavertown beers from Israel. This is a very pleasant pale ale with a solid malt backbone and tropical fruity, hoppy finish, 4-cap rating. And I really enjoy this beer. It has some great flavors. Again, I saved the can because it has some nice can, artwork with chrome, like some chrome things, and just the same type of can stuff you like, Chris, with the little skulls,
Yeah.
little aliens, ray guns. I mean, kind of nice. Alex has brought me a couple of these different Beavertown beers, so I'm looking forward to trying those. But yeah, so I just want to mention, I want to give some love out to our non-U.S. listeners, some beers that you either have tried or you might be able to find out there in England and in Europe. So those are two that I really enjoyed. Okay, Chris, you know what? We're trying to keep this down to under 2 hours.
And here,
But
I'm gonna tell you this.
Okay.
Well, let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Wrap it up. So, Chris, let's wrap this up while you give a couple toasts to some people you'd like to give a toast to tonight.
Certainly. So I want to raise a glass to a gentleman that I was talking to the other day. His name was Connor Larson. Denny, this is the guy that I was talking to via our Facebook page, what seems like a month or so ago. Connor is co-owner of Gasparilla Pizza and Growlers right here.
That's right.
I mean, hell, I could walk to that place from here,
Yeah.
from my house. And they are in the middle of expanding their business. They are growing. They are taking the building next to theirs and they are knocking out walls, and they're making their restaurant bigger. Now, interesting thing about Connor lives in Maine.
In Maine, yeah.
The state of Maine. By the way, Denny, if I didn't tell you this, he's former Navy.
Oh,
okay. I personally, cool dude to talk to. I think we should talk to him a little more if you want to.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I happened to order a pizza for dinner the other night. And I walked into Gasparilla Pizza and Growlers and I saw, okay, so Denny, you and I are pretty tall guys, right?
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, I'm about 6'4", 6'5". Denny's
6'3".
Yeah, so you and I are rather tall. I walked into Gasparilla Pizza and Growlers the other day to go pick up my order, and this mountain of a gentleman walks towards the back, and I went, that looks like the guy that I was talking to on Facebook the other day. So he went into the back of the restaurant, walked his way back to the front where he was when I first got there, and I said, is your name Connor? And he gave me that look like, yeah. And I went, hey, I'm Chris McKenzie with Tap the Craft Podcast. Yeah, here's your summons. And he goes, oh, hey, how you doing? Like, just, shook my hand, and we were all excited. And he was like, oh, yeah, we're going to do this with the restaurant and our packaging with our beers and our growlers. And I was like, man, this is some cool stuff. I love seeing how this business is growing. Do you guys remember where I said he lives?
Yeah, Maine.
Maine. I live in Tampa. This was the most on a whim interaction that I've had in a long time. The guy lives 1,500 miles away, and he's here about a mile from my house here, checking in on his business and helping out with some renovations with his current business. So Connor, it was great to meet you the other day. I'm glad we got to chat a little bit, see about some of the things that you guys are doing in your business over there. And I'll tell you this, if you listen to this and you hear me say this, let me know the next time you're in Tampa, and we'll crack open some really great beers when you guys finish that renovation over at your restaurant. And we'll make sure you guys open that up in style with some really awesome beers, because he's getting, Denny, he is getting some amazing stuff here locally from his distributors. He had Maine lunch available for, you could get one in a crowler or a growler or whatever you wanted. Some great local stuff here, and he was really excited to tell me about some of the things that he was hoping to get a hold of from just local breweries, whether it was Tampa Bay Brewing Company or, you know, some of the other breweries around here. So not only is the guy live like 1,000+ miles away, he's in touch with all these other local breweries around here, and that's kind of what he's doing. Now I know he probably does a lot of other stuff, but you know, he's taking care of the beer list that's right down the street, and he's doing it again from 1,000 miles away. So Connor, it was great to meet you, man. And again, tell me you heard this, and we'll crack open some special bottles just to kind of celebrate the new expansion. Also, thank you to Core 4 for sending out these beers. I know we drank 2 of them the last episode, and we're drinking the other 2 this episode. Very, very big thank you to Buck and Jill Buchanan and all the staff over at Core 4 for sending these over to us. Denny, who would you like to raise a glass to?
Yeah. First, I can start off with our Patreon toast for tonight. It goes out to Kevin and Amanda Argauer. They support us for the last couple of months. They were, I won't say late to the party, but they heard about the Patreon late, and they joined us as soon as they heard about it. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, Kevin and Amanda. We really appreciate your support. Also, I already mentioned my buddy Alex Fuchs visited from Israel again this last week, and we got together a couple times. We got to share some beers and some fellowship. I really always enjoy when he's here in town. And also, I want to raise a toast to my Navy buddy, Mike Blanchard. Mike, if you're listening, thank you for reaching out to me on Facebook and connecting with me. He's going to be coming in through Boise around the beginning of October to go to Wyoming to do some hunting with his son. And he's going to stop here in Boise. We're going to grab a beer and catch up. We both served aboard the USS Georgia together. And not only, small world, right? He went to school with Sarah. He was a couple years behind Sarah, but they went to the same small little school in Dallas, Oregon. And then it ends up that we end up the same, not only the same boat together, but in the same department. And we became good friends. And the last time I saw Mike was when he got married in '98. So it'll be great to see him after all these years. Yeah. And I'm glad that he reached out to say hi. And he said, "Hey, I listened to a few hours of your podcast." I said, "Oh, which episode did you listen to?" He said, "Oh, that one about why people." Why the hell do people like IPAs? So I take it that Mike doesn't really like IPAs, which is okay. Everyone has their own.
Try another one, Mike.
But I can't wait to chat with you and find out how you found me, whether you found me searching for me or just happened to randomly see my name on a beer podcast that you decided to follow. Also, as Chris already mentioned, Buck and Jill Buchanan, thank you very much from Core 4 Brewing for sending Chris and I these beers. We really do appreciate it. Really did enjoy both the beers. And I think I decided that I'm going to give... I have some more beer in this one. I couldn't fit it all in my glass. Look at that. I got bonus beer.
Bonus beer.
But I think I decided... Oh, wait a minute. I got more of the highway wheat, too. What the heck? I got to get bigger glasses for this. But I think I decided that I'm going to give this highway wheat a 5 cap rating.
Jeez.
I can't think of another wheat ale or wheat beer that I've enjoyed as much as that one. And it's not a style that I have a lot of check-ins to. And I can't understand. I don't have any reason why not to give it a high score. I just really enjoyed that beer. I like the fact that it stumped me in describing what it tastes like, because it's just that. It's just an enigma of a beer. It just tastes really good, and I enjoyed. So cheers to you guys. And of course, being a former serviceman, I always want to raise my glass. Look, I got beer in there. And thank all the servicemen and women out there protecting our freedoms. Thank you for your service. Please return home safely to your families very soon. And Chris, why don't you go ahead and give a toast out to our sponsors?
At the forefront of the craft beer movement, Brewer Shirts was one of the first to create apparel that celebrates the art of brewing and the love of fine beer. Never too trendy, always comfortable, and offering affordable quality, they screen print their gear by hand in their studio using eco-friendly inks, materials, and processes. Visit their online store at brewershirts.com and use the coupon code TAPTHECRAFT2020 to receive 15% off full-priced items.
And you can find the beers and the links to the articles mentioned in the show in our show notes located on the show post at tapthecraft.com. And if you'd like to follow us on social media, I can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and Untapped at Loose Screw. And Chris, how can our listeners follow you?
So you can never find me on Twitter at Chris_McKenzie. That joke never gets old. Or you can find me on Untapped and Instagram at MCK1345. And as always, you can interact with us on everything social at Tap the Craft.
All right, it is last call. It's time to bring the show to a close. We want to thank you for downloading and listening, and we ask you to please tell a friend, and of course, subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher Radio or TuneIn or Google Play, CastBox, Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Podcast, or however you listen to your podcast. As a reminder, we release a new show every 2 weeks. Now go out there and spread the good word of craft beer.
Cheers.
Cheers.